Straight ahead on Law&Crime Daily. The woman convicted of killing her 2 children and the wife of her now husband is forced to sit and listen to the impact it had on those left behind.
Because of the choices you made, my family lost a beloved mother, sister, aunt, and daughter. She is irreplaceable. She was 1,000 times the woman you will ever dream of being.
Lori is undeniably a monster that has not taken any responsibility or shown an ounce of remorse for her vile actions. She deserves to never again breathe oxygen as a free member of society.
And Lori herself speaks in court.
I mourn with all of you who mourn, my children and Tammy. Jesus Christ knows the truth of what happened here. Jesus Christ knows that no one was murdered in this case.
Law&Crime Daily, covering court cases from coast to coast.
And welcome everybody to Law&Crime Daily. I'm Jesse Weber. Our gavel-to-gavel coverage of the trial of Doomsday cult mom Lori Vallow Daybell comes to a close with the sentencing phase. But before the judge imposed her sentence, Daybell had a chance to give her own statement. And not only did she not take accountability for the deaths of 3 people, she seemed glad they were gone. Take a listen.
I would like to start by quoting John from the New Testament in the Bible. In John chapter 8, verse 7, Jesus says, "He that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her." Then in verse 15, Jesus says, "Ye judge after the flesh, I judge no man. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true." Jesus knows me, and Jesus understands me. I mourn with all of you who mourn, my children and Tammy. Jesus Christ knows the truth of what happened here. Jesus Christ knows that no one was murdered in this case. Accidental deaths happen. Suicides happen. Fatal side effects from medications happen. I have a different perspective in life because in 2002, when I was pregnant with Tylee, I died in the hospital while in labor with her. They tried to stop my labor. They put me on the table and they put something in my IV, and I felt my spirit falling to the floor. I was standing near my pregnant body, watching the doctors try to revive me, which took them a few minutes. In that time, my sister Stacy was standing to my left. I turned to hug her and was surprised that her spirit was as tangible as a physical body, because I knew I was in spirit and she was in spirit. She said she needed to show me some things, and we went to heaven. I later returned to my body. Because of this experience, I have access to heaven and the spirit world. Since then, I have had many communications from people now living in heaven, including my children, Tylee Ashlyn and Joshua Jackson, my sisters, Stacy and Lolly, my aunts and my uncles, and my grandparents. I have had many communications with Jesus Christ, the Savior of this world, and our heavenly parents. I've had many angelic visitors have come and communicated with me and even manifested themselves to me. Because of these communications, I know for a fact that my children are happy and busy in the spirit world. Because of my communications with my friend Tammy Daybell, I know that she is also very happy and extremely busy. I have always mourned the loss of my loved ones, and I have lost many in this mortal world. However, I know them more than most people. I know where they are now and what they're doing. I know how wonderful heaven is, and I'm homesick for it every single day. I know we all lived in heaven before we were born on earth, and we were all adult spirits in the heavenly realm. We chose to come to earth as mortals. Heaven is more wonderful than you can possibly imagine. I do not fear death, but I look forward to it. I did not want to return to my body when I was out of it. Even though my son Colby, who I adored more than anything, was only 6 years old at the time, and I was about to give birth to this new baby girl that I wanted so badly.
As you digest that, we're going to take a quick break with more of Lori Vallow Daybell's statements at her sentencing when we come back. Stay with us. And welcome back to Law&Crime Daily, everybody. So we're continuing our coverage of Lori Vallow Daybell's sentencing after she was convicted of killing her 2 children and conspiring to murder her husband's deceased wife. She was given the opportunity to speak before the judge imposed his sentence of life in prison, and she had a lot to say.
I was a young mother, and you would think I wouldn't want to leave my children, but as I stood in heaven, I did not want to go back. I thought they would be fine without me because I was peaceful and I was happy and I was home. But then I was told by Jesus that I needed to go back and complete things that I had covenanted or promised to do before I was born. This caused me a lot of distress because I knew heaven was my real home and I only wanted to be there. I was free from pain, emotional and physical. But then I was shown how I would help my children and others in the future. So ultimately, I did agree to go back to my body. Kylie has visited me. She is happy and very busy. Kylie is free now from all the pains of her life. Kylie suffered horrible physical pain her whole life. I sat with Kylie in the hospital year after year after year while she screamed in pain when the morphine wasn't even enough to take away the pain of her pancreatitis. I sat there while she cried and I held back her hair while she threw up. And I am the only person on this earth who knows how much Kylie suffered in her life. She had pain every single day. She never felt good. Her body did not work right. And I don't know if that was from complications from me dying while she was being born or something else, but she had a very difficult life. She was sexually abused by her own biological father since she was 3 years old, and she was forced by family court to go visit him for 10 years against her will. I fought for her in court. I protected her. I tried to protect her with my whole life. I tried to protect her. I worried about her every single day. Kylie had to get her GED because she couldn't go to school every day because she never felt good. She felt sick. Nobody knows this because Kylie, like myself, tries to put on a good front, tries to be a happy person, tries to have hope in life, tries to know that she's here for a purpose and that she has an eternal purpose to be on this earth. But I never stopped worrying about her. One of the times that Kylie came to me as a spirit after she died, she commanded me and she said to me, "Stop worrying, Mom. We are fine." She knows how I worry and how I miss her. The first time JJ visited me after he passed away, he put his arm around me and he said to me, "You didn't do anything wrong, Mom. I love you. And I know you loved me every minute of my life." JJ, Joshua Jackson, was an adult spirit. And he was very, very tall when he put his arm around me. He is busy. He is engaged. He has jobs that he does there. And he is happy where he is. His life was short, but JJ's life was meaningful. JJ was a wonderful person and touched the lives of everyone, and I adored him every minute of his life. My eternal friend, Tammy Daybell, has visited me on several occasions. She came to bring me peace and comfort, and I know that she is extremely busy helping her family, especially her children and grandchildren, and I have a great love for Tammy. My beautiful children, Tylee Ashlyn and Joshua Jackson, rest safely this day in the arms of Jesus. My wonderful friend, Tammy Daybell, rests safely this day in the arms of Jesus. And I look forward to the day when we are all reunited and I too will rest with them in the arms of my Jesus.
Just wild stuff. And now that we've heard all Lori had to say, let me bring in my co-host, legal analyst Terry Austin, Brian Buckmeyer. Terry, I'll start with you. I was shocked she made a statement. Were you? I mean, what did you think of that?
I did not expect her to get up there and make a statement. I didn't know what she was going to say. One of the things that she said that really hit home was there are accidental deaths. There are deaths that happen by suicide. There are deaths that happen because of consequences of medication. So this is what I think she is telling herself, how these deaths occurred. Even though obviously from the autopsies, we know exactly, well, not everyone, but we know partially how these happened. The fact that JJ had a bag over his head, he was taped up. The fact that Tylee, was stabbed, probably based on what they found.
But if she felt justified, she never even explained what it is. Like, okay, I feel right about it. She never explained it.
She never did. She never explained it, and she never took any responsibility,
right.
And she did not have remorse.
That lack of remorse makes me wonder if this should have been a death penalty case.
And that's a question that I had as well. Again, not a proponent of the death penalty whatsoever, right. But as an attorney, I'm comparing apples to apples. So I look at Idaho and I say, okay, do you have any women on death row? They have one. Her name is Robin Rowe. She was convicted for setting fire to a home where her husband and 2 children died. If I'm comparing Rowe to Vallow, they seem pretty similar to me, especially when you see the method of which these children are killed and her lack of remorse. I think the prosecutors are second thinking maybe we should have put death on the table.
Well,
how does that affect?
They did actually. They put it on the table, but the judge took it off because the defense made a motion to remove the death penalty because of discovery violations and various other things. They were saying that the public knew all about it. She wasn't going to get a fair trial, but the judge, because of the discovery violations, took it off the table. And if you recall, the defense, when he got up to speak here, said, listen, it's nobody's fault. This is what should have happened. It wasn't prosecution. It wasn't the judge. It wasn't us. It should not have been on the table.
Real quick, you think they're going to do death penalty for Chad?
I think so, yeah.
After everything that we've seen in this case?
Absolutely. Go for him because they made an error as to why she didn't have it, and thank you for correcting Terry. Then I think they'll go for it against Chad.
All right, well, while Lori got her time in the spotlight, Monday's sentencing hearing was really about the victims and the impact of their loss. You're going to hear the words of a heartbroken grandmother has for the woman who took away her joy. That's next. Welcome back to Law&Crime Daily, everybody. We're focusing today on the sentencing hearing for Lori Vallow Daybell, the so-called Doomsday cult mom who killed her own children. Lori was convicted of killing her 2 children, JJ Vallow and Tylee Ryan, after the remains were found buried on the property of her newest husband, Chad Daybell. Lori was also convicted of conspiring to kill Chad's first wife, Tammy Daybell, who died just weeks before Lori and Chad got married in Hawaii. Several people read victim impact statements during Monday's sentencing hearing. Some of the most powerful words came from Kay Woodcock, the grandmother who took JJ in as a premature baby, caring for him for the first part of his life.
We never know when one of those moments are going to hit, but I can tell you that there have been too many situations in the past few years where we get slammed with the fact that JJ won't hit another milestone in his life, all because his materialistic, self-centered mother cruelly and brutally stole his life and him from the world. Lori's acts of depravity, cruelty, and betrayal have no limits.
Terry, those were some strong words. What do you think?
I thought Kay did a great job. You know, the two of them, Larry and Kay, they practically raised JJ because remember, that's her grandchild. That is the child of her son. So Kay is the sister of Charles. So that's how come she's so connected. And they took care of him. He was premature. And they laid him on top of them. He had this very close relationship to Larry because Larry used to take care of him when he was upset or crying. And I thought it was very poignant what she did. She tried to take numbers and put some sort of value on those numbers. And she went through his entire life. And it was really hard to hear because Vallow, you know, took away JJ from her, took away Tylee from her, and it had a lasting impact on both Kay and Larry. And I think people felt that and understood it. I think the judge understood that too. That's
the question I always have. Do you think the judge went into this already knowing what his sentence was going to be for each of these charges, or does you think the judge actually listened to these words and was affected and changed his decision based on the victim impact statements?
I think 9 times out of 10, judges go in knowing what they want to do, but there might be a sense of like not being quite sure, but I think in the way that he expressed himself and the way that he came down with the consecutive sentences for 3 of the charges, 1 for each murder. He could have done consecutive for 5 and had the other 2 conspiracy, but he didn't. I think he was very thoughtful and he thought about what was said, and I think it reassured him that he made the right decision. I don't think it changed his mind, but I think it definitely reassured. He's like, I'm doing the right thing from what I heard.
And we also heard the statement from Colby Ryan, Lori's son. He wasn't there. It was read by the attorney. Do you think that had an effect?
I think it was effective. I think it was short and sweet, but I think the judge listened to it, and I think one of the things that was said about Colby is those phone records. Kay mentioned it when she was doing her statement, the phone records, the jail call, and how difficult that call was for Colby, listening to his mom, trying to get his mom to understand and to admit and to talk about it. This is his family. His whole family now is gone from, you know, his sister and brother, and now his mother's going to be in jail, and it was very difficult for him.
He didn't even have to make a statement. That call in and of itself is in the mind of the judge, and I think one of the most powerful things Colby said in that call was, there were other things we could have done. I would have taken those kids in instead of you killing them, and that is a big theme. There were other options here. If you didn't want him in your life, if you didn't want to be a part of it, if you didn't want to be a mother anymore, there were other things to do. Well, when we come back, the judge has the final word in that courtroom as he hands down Lori Vallow Daybell's prison sentence. And welcome back, everybody. The judge in Lori Vallow Daybell's case has seen every part of this story, from the defendant's competency evaluations to the gruesome crime scene photos to the wild ideas related to her religious beliefs. He had the final word in court on Monday. Take a look.
And it is the most shocking thing, really, I can imagine, is that a mother killed her own children and you simply have no remorse for it. Even sitting here today, there's no remorse for what you did. After all of this evidence through trial, you haven't shown any remorse. You haven't said you're sorry. You haven't done anything to seek leniency from this court. I don't believe that any God in any religion would want to have this happen, what happened here. And your crimes are heinous and egregious, and that alone can constitute a major aggravating factor that requires me to impose a serious length of incarceration.
Yeah, he seemed so thoughtful, Brian, and careful in his consideration, and giving 3 consecutive life sentences. What was your reaction to the way he handled that?
So I always think about all these cases as a defense attorney, and I actually really like the defense attorney's arguments here. They just have a really bad case.
Yeah.
But the argument that when you give someone max determinate life with no parole, meaning you're just there for the rest of your life, there's no parole, no nothing, there's really no difference between 1 life with no parole and 20 life with no parole. It's life is life. You don't have multiple lives. Lori may believe that, but the rest of us just have one, right? But his explanation of why he doesn't do it and why this made sense, I thought was perfect and beautiful for all the victims here. Each one of those lives mattered, and she deserved to serve a sentence for each one of those lives. He could have gone all the way and said, I'm going to consec you for 5 life sentences. He says, no, I'm stopping at 3, the rest are concurrent, and I think he was thoughtful in even the smallest of charges.
It was a little bit of a roller coaster because he started out listing all of the mitigating factors, and a part of me thought, is he going to grant her parole? Is she going to get something less than life in prison if possible? But he didn't. Right.
Thank goodness he didn't, because this should have been the maximum, and he did do the maximum that he could, or at least most of the maximum. So in the beginning, he's giving the mitigating circumstances, and so those mitigating factors included the fact that she'd never had a crime before, she's already 50 years old, and he took that into consideration. And I just thought that at first, like you, he was not going to give her, the life without parole, at least 1 life without parole, because he was saying very favorable things about her. He said that she was well behaved in court, that she was respectful, which I think some people would disagree. And in fact, in some of those impact statements, people were disagreeing with that. And the judge said some may disagree with this. So he was going on, and I got a little bit concerned. But what he was doing was protecting the record, making sure he put on the record what are the mitigating factors, what are the aggravating factors, and making sure it's all safe.
And clearly those aggravating factors outweighed any mitigation in this case. Brian, Terry, thank you both so much. Everyone out there, thanks for joining us here on Law and Crime Daily. We'll see you next time as we discuss justice in America.